all the mud outside from all the rain we received. And all that's just one day's worth of rain has gotten this coop soaked. I've probably used more bedding in the last couple of days than I have in the last couple of months. So I think I need to go get some more of that, because this is insane how wet and muddy it is inside this coop. Just from them coming in and out. Look at this. So all this has to be raked out. Then I have to go get some more. The goose was smart on where she picked, because her whole area is dry back there. So she knew that would be the perfect place to hatch eggs. She's on day 5 right now of sitting on the eggs. So she's doing really good so far, especially for a goose that's under a year old. I'm really impressed with her. But man, I can't believe how muddy it is. How much rain came in just one day. I mean, look at this. This is insane. So remember the other day the coop was muddy and frozen. And I said it's because when we get water, it gets crazy in here. This is a big reason why we chose ducks, because our backyard floods really badly. And out of nowhere, it'll be dry, and then all of a sudden, water. You can tell by the sound they're making, most of our ducklings ended up being girls. Let's see, out of 13 ducklings, I see 1. Now these are crossbreeds, but they still ended up, because of the way that they're bred, with the Welsh Harlequin, black bean on the tip of the bill, and greenish colored bill for males, and black bills for females. And the females are quacking. So we have 1 male right here, 2 males, and 4 males. Out of 13 ducklings, only 4 are males, and all of the other ones are females. That is a huge increase in our laying population for next year. You see these younger girls are feathering out. The males are feathering out. We will not be keeping all of these males. That's just not good for the hens to have that many males. Look at this one, ended up really nice and chocolate. How beautiful is she? And this one too. These were our 2 chocolate ducklings. They were the ones that had hatched, and the day of hatch they were a light chocolate color. And I was curious if they would end up being male or female, because if they're female, that means they only need 1 copy of the chocolate gene, and males need 2. So it's a sex-linked gene that kind of tells the sex, but they ended up definitely being female. So that's going to be really handy when breeding them back to my silver Welsh Harlequin male, because likely with them being chocolate, then the offspring, the females, will be chocolate in color, and the males will be a different color. Maybe yellow or mallard striping. It really depends on the pairing. So we'll see. Now that coloring, that sex-linked coloring, only lasts for 1 generation. But as you can tell, the bill color, because of the way that they're bred, has been something that seems to last every generation with these. So that's really important to note, because that's a trait that tells me very quickly what they are, sometimes before they start quacking. If you want nice black bills, what you have to do is any females at birth born with pink bills, cull them. On my crosses, I cull anything that doesn't have a black bill at birth, and that includes males, because they're all born with black bills and usually dark colored feet, and then they lighten up. That's not the case with Welsh Harlequins, whose females are born with pink bills with a black bean on the end, and males are born with darker bill colors. It switches after a couple of weeks. Look at this pretty baby. As you can tell by the mallard striping on around the eyes, this is a cross. Mallard and Welsh Harlequin cross. With some khaki Campbell in there. I know a lot of people say their ducks aren't friendly, but ours are. Like, my foot's right here. She's getting awfully close. They really are very close. Curious. You can see the ducks still haven't mastered using the pen for laying all their eggs. Which is why I carry this handy dandy basket around everywhere I go, because I have to come out here in the run. It's one reason why whenever it was freezing, I had to stop gathering eggs for hatching and just cook them immediately, because they would leave the eggs out here and the water would move and all of a sudden I'd see the top of an egg. Here are our Welsh Harlequins. They're beautiful. It looks like snow's finally starting to darken up, so she's way too white for my likings. That nice golden color is what we want to see right there. Beautiful girls. No eggs over here. So it looks like we're just getting 4 eggs today. A little nervous trampling through this water because we do have snakes. We do have poisonous snakes at that. This is a 900 square foot run, and this is how much water's in there. But the rest of our yard didn't escape it either. The entire backyard is flooded from one day of rain. And then it's wild because come summertime, we'll have a drought and the ground will be cracking, there will be no water. And that's about the time I can start sowing seeds and replanting like we did on the other side. This looked like this, and then we sowed some grass seeds. You can still see where, now that the geese are in there, they're kind of trampling out. But here's where we sowed all of this turnip seed, collards, vetch. A lot of it died in the freeze, but some of it didn't, and our geese are still eating it. Hi, Dorian. He wants nothing to do with me. So I'll re-sow the seed in here and over on the other side once the rain stops long enough for me to kind of sprinkle it down without it washing away. And if I sprinkle the seeds, what I do is I'll sprinkle carrot seeds, collard greens, grass seed all together, and I'll do it with radishes, which are very quick to come up, and that'll kind of hold the other seeds in place, which is really important when reseeding. Couldn't figure out why they're so excited to see me, but they're out of food, which is unusual because food usually lasts a while. So they are growing really fast. This food I mixed together with some scratch just because it was so cold. I wanted them to be able to generate enough heat because it was the first time kind of being out in the cold weather. They're still pretty young and not quite fully feathered, some of them, but that is not something I do during the summer because it's way too hot and the Texas heat will just burn these ducks. They would die of heat exhaustion. There's no way they could eat scratch and be okay in the summer. I just won't do it. That's miserable. It's like eating the human equivalent of going and eating a big, huge, heavy meal like chili during 100 and something degree weather. You would just be miserable afterwards. you see them tracking in all the mud and them coming in wet after swimming, and all that water and mud's what's getting all this messed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and rake all this out. Okay, so because of the sheer amount of shavings I've put in here with all the rain last night, I'm completely out of shavings, and they've already mucked these up. So what I'm doing is lifting with the shovel and just turning these over. And then I'm going to run to the food supply store and buy more shavings to put in here. You can see that kind of lightens it up and makes it fluffy again where it's been compacted and wet, at least until I get back. So all of these shavings are going to go into our compost bin. And it's going to make a really big difference. Look how muddy that is. That's disgusting. And so all of these shavings will go into our compost bin. And so one of the reasons I started using shavings instead of hay or anything else is that hay around here, it's really hard to find hay that's not been sprayed. Even when people say it's not been sprayed, I've found that most of the time it is. So what I'm going to do is keep adding these shavings to the compost, and as you can see, there are a lot of shavings in here. That is a lot to add, a whole lot. So that's going to make one heck of a difference. And you can see how turning them kind of helps you get more use out of them. Also, these it's time for some of them to go. Look at this, just a muddy mess all in here. You can barely see where the shavings are because they're just pancaked into the ground. Here's where their nest is, right here. That needs to come out. So this really is a great way, and you don't have to worry. I use large flake when I can find it. Because of the freeze, everything was gone, and we had to use a lot of medium flake bedding. But the older ducks don't really tend to eat it. I find the ducklings just eat everything. It doesn't matter. They'll pull up cardboard, they'll pull up shavings. So you'd have to watch, because some of those younger ducklings, if you get small flakes, they will eat them, and that is a choking hazard for a young duckling. Mine are pretty much feathered out, so they're old enough to know better, and they have a big container of feed. And I know, somebody's gonna say that feed inside the coop is a big no-no, but you know what? It's not staying out there in that muddy mess in that rain. So, inside the coop it goes. I should add that this feeder I only fill up once to twice a week, depending on the time of year. So, they're still out there. We're in Southeast Texas. They're fishing for crawfish. They're getting algae. They're sifting through. They're finding frogs, lizards, anything that they can eat. Insects. If you see flies fly over, they'll be jumping up to grab them outside. So we're just really just supplementing their diet. I think that's about it for today. We don't have a lot going on here because the freeze took out so much. They're still recovering. The peas, the collard greens, all of that. They're still trying to get better after the freeze. And I mean, everything took a hit. All of our small plants, they froze. So nothing's really growing. It's all kind of in recovery mode. It'll be a couple weeks before anything really gets back to growing the way that it was. So in the off season, we are just focusing on our ducks, which are laying. I have about 21 eggs in the incubator right now to hatch out. Some of those will be pure Welsh Harlequin and some will be cross. So I'm excited to kind of see what we get out of it.